the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kudash. Double honors goes out to the other apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is Shabai from the GMS Denver camp, and I'm going to go in on 1 Kings, the 18th chapter, starting at verse 17. It's basically going in on the true prophets and the false prophets, all right, of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Starting at 17, it says, "And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah," and Ahab was a wicked king of Israel, "that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and thou hast followed Baalim," or Baal, right? Because you had a lot of, we went into idolatry yesterday with our lesson, and, it's been a constant, perpetual thing, ever since King Solomon, reigned. Israel, the nation of Israel, especially the 2/3, have taken on idolatry, and going in on, false pagan idol worship. So verse 19, it says, "Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal, 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel, and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. You see, so these prophets, they were prophets of Baal, which is a pagan god, but nonetheless they were Israelite prophets. So you're going to have a lot of false wicked prophets even in the nation of Israel, just as it is today. Okay, this is verse 22. It says, it says, "And Elijah," verse 21, "and Elijah came unto all the people and said, How long halt ye between two opinions? If Yahweh Bashem Yahushai be the God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word." And that's what it is nowadays too. You got our people following, they're outside of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They're profane. They're outside the tabernacle. And they're worshiping, a lot of them unknowingly. But now, like we were talking about last night in the lesson, there's no excuse, if you're an Israelite, because there's the prophets are on the street corners. The internet is flooded with the Hebrew Israelite videos. So there's no excuse, right? But you could see here, the people, they didn't even answer a word. Because why? Because they knew their shame. They knew they were, in their spirit, they knew they were going off. So let's read 22. "Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I, only remain a prophet of Yahweh, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. So he was outnumbered, right? Because you had a majority of our people, just like now, the majority of our people are in some other idolatry, worshiping false pagan gods, worshiping, cracker Jesus, at the top of the list, you see. But our people, perpetually have taken on idol worship, and it was no different in the time of Elijah. Verse 23, Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under." So basically, Elijah is making a challenge, He's challenging those other prophets, those false prophets. And really, it's not even a challenge, because the true prophets of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai that's where the power lies, If you have the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai and you're sincere and you're a prophet, then you don't have to worry about these false prophets. These men who are coming in the spirit of Baal or pagan deities. Verse 24. And call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of Yahweh. You see that? He's like, look, you go ahead and let's do this sacrifice. Y'all call on the name of your gods. I'm going to call on the name of Yahweh. And let's see what happened, right? It says in verse 24, and the Most High that answereth by fire, or is the God that answereth by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. So they were agreed with it. They're like, all right, let's get down like that. They're like, yeah, let's see who has the true God, who has the true power. 25. And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you one bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under it. Right, because the fire was going to be the Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? That was what's going to burn up the sacrifice. Let's read. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made. All right? And why is that? Because the pagan idols, they have no power, man. They can't speak, they can't hear, they can't walk. If they fall over, they can't pick themselves up. You see? Let's read this really quick. Let me see. All right. Let me read this. Wisdom of Solomon 15:15, it says, for they counted all the idols of the heathen to be gods. And that's our people. That's what they do. Our people perpetually call on the heathen gods, and they think that they're actually gods. Right? It says, which neither have the use of eyes to see, nor noses to draw breath, nor ears to hear, nor fingers of hands to handle. And as for their feet, they are slow to go. You see? So meaning they don't have no power. They can't even see, they can't walk, they can't breathe, none of that. Alright, so let's go back to 1 Kings 18, and where am I on? 25, we'll try. Or 26. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called in the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made. So remember, Baal can't hear, he can't speak, he can't breathe. So how in the hell is he going to, consume this bullock, consume this sacrifice with fire? It's impossible for the pagan gods to do that. Verse 17, and it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry loud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in a journey, or perhaps he sleepeth and must be awaked. And peradventure, it means perhaps. So, Elijah's mocking the prophets of Baal. And it's the same thing with us. You want smoke with the true men of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai? We're gonna mock you. We're gonna mock at your lack of understanding. We're gonna mock at your lack of being able to break down the scriptures. This is our power, right? It's not something we go out there to do and say, oh yeah, we're gonna go out there and mock people today. No, but if you bring the heat and you want smoke, well, guess what? You're going to get all the smoke with the true men of the Lord. See? Verse 28. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets, till the blood gushed out upon them, going in like self-mutilation, and that's what these pagan idols, pagan idolatry, these prophets of Baal, they do that type of shit. Let me look into that real quick. I'm just gonna type do pagan. Let's see. Let me see here. Let's see. Let me see. Let me reword it. I'm gonna say, what religions what religion does self-mutilation? Let's see what it says. Let me see. It looks like Islam might be one of those religions that participates in that self-mutilation, self-flagellation. All right, and perform one time. Let me see. I'm still reading it, but bear with me. Devotees hit themselves on the chest or slash themselves with blades on chains called zanjerzani. So it looks like upon the research I'm doing here, it looks like there's some of that in self-infliction, self-mutilation goes into with the Islamic religion. Let me see. So let's see. Let me look up this word real quick. Slovakia. Well, I'm not going to get too crazy into this, but basically, upon the research, it looks like Islamic religion, there's some thing called Matam, which is the morning of Muharram, Mourning, mourning, as in, sadness type of mourning. So, let's see. Let me look up this word, self-flagellation. The act of flogging himself, especially as a form of religious discipline. Let me look up this word, flogging. I don't know what that means. The action of flogging. Let's see. Alright, so it says to beat, to whip, or stick as punishment or torture. So yeah, that's going into it. So yeah, the point is and that's why these the religions like Islam, they come off the pagan belief systems, because they're doing that bullshit. So anyway, let's move on from that. But they says, and they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner of what? Their manner of religion, their manner of their practices, their tradition, with knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them. And when it came to pass, when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice nor any answer to any that regarded. Right, because remember, the false pagan gods, they can't breathe, they can't talk, they can't answer you, they can't hear you. Alright, there's only one power, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, the Father and the Son. Verse 30, and Elijah said unto all the people, come near unto me, and all the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes and the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, and he made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. So he was getting ready to, sacrifice that bullock. He was preparing the altar. He was setting it up, staging it, getting ready to, prove who has the true power, who worshiped the true power, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Okay, let's keep reading. And he said, do it the second time, and they did it the second time. And he said, do it the third time, and they did it the third time. And the water ran about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord, the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art the Most High in Israel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Alright? So now it's Elijah's turn. He's calling on Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai to consume the sacrifice in front of the people, right? Verse 37, hear me, O Yahweh, hear me, that this people may know that thou art Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, the power, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Right? And this is another way we know that Elijah, because remember, he's turning, your heart is your mind. He's turning the mind of the people back to their right mindset. Just like we go to Malachi 4 and 5 and 6, it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the dreadful day of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And he shall return the heart, meaning the mind, of the fathers to the children, and the heart or the mind of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So remember, Elijah and John the Baptist and Abba Bivens, they all did this in their generation. They all turned the mindset of the sons to the fathers and the fathers to the sons. And why? It was because they were all the same spirit, they all the same soul, putting us in our right mindset as Israelites, putting us, like in the time of Elijah, you had them worshiping Baal. In the time of Abba Bivens, Elder Abba Bivens, they were worshiping Cracker Jesus and all these other abominations that Babylon America, allows them to worship. But it was Elder Abba Bivens, he basically put us in our right mindset, to where we are, knowing who we are, the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, and we're calling on the true powers, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And then I'm going to go even a little further with this point in Matthew 17 and 11. It says, And Yahushai answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall come first and restore all things, including the people, refreshing us, putting us in our right mindset. And then he says, what does the Yahushua tell him? But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer them. In verse 13 it says, Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. All right, so John the Baptist was Elijah in the reincarnation. Elder Abba Bivens was Elijah and John the Baptist in the reincarnation. Reincarnation is in the Bible. All right, through the Spirit, I'll do a lesson on reincarnation. But this is a big component of that, and it shows you that, hey, Elijah, let's go back to that in Kings. 1 Kings 18 and 37? Hear me, O Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, hear me, that this people may know that thou art Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the power, and thou hast turned their heart back again, just like Elijah, John, and all the Abba Bivens. They all put us in our right mindset, because remember, heart means mind. Okay, verse 38. Then the fire of Yahweh fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. So it was dried up, man. By the time Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai put that fire on that sacrifice, even the water was dried up, man. In verse 39, and when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, He is the Most High. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, He is the Most High. See? So what did He say He was going to do? Turn their hearts back again, meaning their minds. And so these Israelites who witnessed this sacrifice from the Lord, the fire came down from the heavens and consumed the bullock that was dressed and prepared for a sacrifice right in front of the prophets of Baal, right in front of the people's faces. They all saw it. All right, and this was in that time, in that generation, the power of Elijah, and he put them back in their right mindset, because they witnessed that sacrifice when the prophets of Baal couldn't do nothing. You see, verse 40. And Elijah said unto them, Take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon, and slew them there. So he put them to death. And Elijah said unto Ahab, Get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink. And Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself down upon the earth and put his face between his knees, and said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. So he told him, just keep going back, keep going to check, look toward the sea. Because why? He knew in the spirit that his servant was going to see a chariot, what you ignorantly call a UFO. It says, And it came to pass at the 7th time, which was a complete number, that he said, Behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And remember, the chariots can take the form of anything. They come in different variations. This one could have been the size of a man's hand. This one could have been literally looking like a man's hand, right? This chariot, what you call a UFO, it says a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And he said, Go up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, and that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black, and the clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. And the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yashai was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. All right, and so yeah, that hand was kind of, whether it was an actual hand or whether it was just the size of a man's hand, that was symbolic, because the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yashai was on Elijah the prophet. All right, and let me just show you this verse real quick since we read that. Psalm 104:3, it says, Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, and who walketh upon the wings of the wind. So Yahweh makes the clouds his chariot. Remember, he said it was a little cloud, and it looked like a hand, or the size of a hand, and it had, if it wanted to, because it was a chariot, it could have put a beam from its chamber into the water, because remember, it was above the sea. And that little chariot could have, put a beam of light onto the water, just like it says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters. Okay. So anyway, with that, I just wanted to go in on that. It was through the Spirit, reading that 1 Kings chapter 18. And I hope the lesson was edifying. But I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakat Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akim who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.